In an alternate reality where Nelson Mandela was never incarcerated, the landscape of South Africa's anti-apartheid movement would have taken a different turn. Mandela, a towering figure in the fight against racial segregation, played a pivotal role in shaping the nation's history. His leadership, resilience, and unwavering commitment to justice made him a beacon of hope for millions of oppressed individuals. Nelson Mandela's significance in the anti-apartheid movement cannot be overstated. As a prominent leader of the African National Congress, ANC, Mandela dedicated his life to dismantling the oppressive apartheid regime. His advocacy for equality, justice, and reconciliation inspired a generation of activists and galvanized international support for the cause. Mandela's moral authority and strategic vision were instrumental in uniting diverse factions within the anti-apartheid movement and mobilizing mass resistance against the discriminatory policies of the South African government. Mandela's leadership and imprisonment had a profound impact on South Africa's history. His arrest and subsequent 27-year incarceration transformed him into a symbol of resistance and resilience. Mandela's imprisonment galvanized global solidarity and intensified pressure on the apartheid regime to end its repressive policies. Upon his release in 1990, Mandela emerged as a unifying figure who sought to heal the wounds of the past and build a more inclusive and democratic society, setting the stage for exploring the alternate trajectory of the nation's history. In this alternate reality, where Mandela was never imprisoned, the trajectory of South Africa's history would have been markedly different. Without Mandela's sacrifice and leadership, the anti-apartheid movement may have faced greater challenges in mobilizing support and achieving its goals. By imagining a world where Mandela's incarceration never occurred, we can explore the potential outcomes and implications for South Africa's journey towards freedom and equality. Pre-incarceration Mandela. Before his arrest, Nelson Mandela was already a prominent figure in South Africa's anti-apartheid movement, known for his early activism and political career. Mandela's journey as a young lawyer fighting against racial discrimination laid the foundation for his future leadership role within the African National Congress, ANC, and the broader struggle for equality. Mandela's early activism was characterized by his commitment to challenging the injustices of the apartheid system. As a founding member of the ANC Youth League, Mandela advocated for nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience as tools for social change. His legal expertise and eloquence made him a powerful voice for the marginalized and oppressed communities in South Africa. If Mandela had not been imprisoned, he could have employed a range of strategies to advance the anti-apartheid movement. His charismatic leadership and ability to build coalitions across racial and political lines would have been instrumental in mobilizing support both domestically and internationally. Mandela might have focused on expanding grassroots organizing, engaging in diplomatic efforts, and leveraging media attention to amplify the voices of those fighting against apartheid. Mandela's presence before his incarceration would have undoubtedly shaped the anti-apartheid movement in unique ways. His strategic acumen, moral authority, and ability to inspire hope and unity among diverse groups could have accelerated the pace of change and potentially led to earlier victories against the apartheid regime. Mandela's leadership style, characterized by inclusivity and a commitment to dialogue, might have fostered greater collaboration and solidarity within the movement, ultimately influencing the course of South Africa's history in profound ways. Political landscape. In a scenario where Nelson Mandela was not imprisoned, the political landscape of South Africa would have been significantly different, with implications for the anti-apartheid movement and the nation's trajectory. Without Mandela's absence due to incarceration, the dynamics of leadership, alliances, and conflicts within the political scene would have taken on a new dimension. In the absence of Mandela's imprisonment, other anti-apartheid leaders would have played a more prominent role in shaping the political landscape of South Africa. Figures such as Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, and Albertina Sisulu, among others, would have had greater visibility and influence in guiding the movement. These leaders, with their distinct perspectives and strategies, would have contributed to a more diverse and dynamic leadership structure within the anti-apartheid struggle. Examine potential alliances or conflicts that could have arisen without Mandela's absence. The absence of Mandela's imprisonment could have led to the formation of different alliances or conflicts within the anti-apartheid movement. Without Mandela as a unifying figure, there may have been greater competition for leadership roles and divergent approaches to achieving the movement's goals. Potential conflicts over strategies, priorities, and ideological differences could have emerged, challenging the cohesion of the opposition against apartheid. A unified opposition movement, led by a collective of anti-apartheid leaders in the absence of Mandela's imprisonment, could have presented a stronger front against the apartheid regime. A cohesive and coordinated approach to resistance may have accelerated progress towards dismantling apartheid policies and fostering a more inclusive and democratic society. On the other hand, a fragmented opposition movement could have faced internal divisions, power struggles, and challenges in presenting a unified front to confront the entrenched system of apartheid. The implications of a unified or fragmented opposition movement would have had far-reaching consequences for the course of South Africa's history. Social impact. In a world where Nelson Mandela was not incarcerated, the societal changes and responses in South Africa would have been shaped by his continued presence and influence. Mandela's absence from prison would have had a profound impact on public morale, activism, and the trajectory of the anti-apartheid movement. Mandela's presence as a free leader would have undoubtedly boosted public morale and energized activism within South Africa. His charisma, moral authority, and unwavering commitment to justice served as a beacon of hope for those fighting against apartheid. Mandela's ability to connect with people from all walks of life and inspire unity and resilience would have galvanized greater support for the anti-apartheid cause and mobilized communities towards collective action. Without Mandela's incarceration, the anti-apartheid movement may have experienced a potential acceleration in its momentum. Mandela's active participation in organizing protests, negotiations, and advocacy efforts could have expedited the dismantling of apartheid policies and systems. His strategic leadership and ability to navigate complex political landscapes may have propelled the movement towards achieving its goals at a faster pace. The ripple effects of Mandela's continued presence and influence on social justice movements beyond South Africa would have been significant. Mandela's legacy as a global icon of resistance and reconciliation would have inspired and emboldened activists and marginalized communities worldwide. His impact on promoting human rights, equality, and democracy would have reverberated across borders, influencing movements for social justice and liberation in other regions facing similar struggles. Mandela's absence from prison could have catalyzed a wave of solidarity and collective action in support of freedom and equality on a global scale. Global perspective. In a scenario where Nelson Mandela was not imprisoned, the international implications on the anti-apartheid movement would have been far-reaching, shaping the support, opposition, and diplomatic strategies employed by South Africa and its allies on the global stage. Without Mandela's imprisonment, the anti-apartheid movement may have garnered varied support or opposition from other countries. Mandela's presence as a free leader could have influenced the stance of nations towards South Africa's apartheid regime. Countries that previously hesitated to condemn apartheid policies may have been more inclined to support the anti-apartheid cause, while others with vested interests in the status quo may have intensified their opposition. In a world where Mandela was not imprisoned, South Africa and its allies could have employed different diplomatic strategies to advance the anti-apartheid movement. Mandela's diplomatic acumen and statesmanship would have enhanced negotiations, alliances, and advocacy efforts on the international stage. South Africa may have engaged in more proactive diplomacy, leveraging Mandela's global reputation to build coalitions, secure sanctions, and push for policy changes that isolated the apartheid regime. The absence of Mandela's incarceration on the global stage would have reshaped perceptions of the anti-apartheid struggle. Mandela's continued presence as a free leader advocating for justice and equality could have shifted global narratives, portraying the movement in a more positive light and garnering increased international solidarity. The impact of Mandela's unfettered leadership on global perceptions may have accelerated the delegitimization of apartheid and reinforced the moral imperative for countries to stand against racial oppression and discrimination. Legacy of Mandela. In a scenario where Nelson Mandela was not incarcerated, his lasting legacy would have been shaped by his continued presence and influence on post-apartheid South Africa, reconciliation efforts, and his global iconic status. Mandela's continued presence in post-apartheid South Africa would have had a profound impact on the nation's trajectory. As a free leader, Mandela could have played a pivotal role in guiding the country through the challenges of transition, fostering unity, and promoting social cohesion. His leadership and vision for a democratic and inclusive society would have influenced policies, institutions, and societal norms, shaping a more equitable and just future for all South Africans. Without Mandela's incarceration, reconciliation, and nation-building efforts in post-apartheid South Africa may have been accelerated and deepened. Mandela's ability to bridge divides, promote forgiveness, and advocate for truth and reconciliation could have facilitated healing and unity among communities that were once divided by apartheid. His continued presence as a moral compass and unifying figure could have inspired a shared commitment to building a more cohesive and prosperous nation. The absence of Mandela's imprisonment on his global iconic status would have further solidified his legacy as a symbol of resilience, justice, and reconciliation. Mandela's continued presence as a free leader advocating for human rights and equality would have reinforced his stature as a revered statesman and moral authority on the world stage. His unwavering commitment to peace and social justice would have continued to inspire generations and shape global movements for freedom and equality. Conclusion. Reflecting on the alternate history of South Africa without Nelson Mandela's incarceration offers valuable insights into the pivotal role of individual leadership in shaping historical events and the trajectory of social movements. By exploring this hypothetical scenario, we can appreciate the profound impact that Mandela's presence had on the anti-apartheid movement and the broader struggle for justice and equality. In this alternate reality, the trajectory of the anti-apartheid movement would have been significantly altered by Mandela's continued leadership and influence. Without his imprisonment, the movement may have experienced accelerated progress, greater unity, and potentially different outcomes in the fight against apartheid. The absence of Mandela's sacrifice and resilience would have reshaped the dynamics of resistance and activism in South Africa. The alternate history of South Africa without Mandela's incarceration underscores the critical role of individual leadership in driving social change and historical transformation. Mandela's leadership qualities, strategic vision, and moral courage exemplify the power of one person to inspire movements, unite communities, and challenge oppressive systems. His legacy serves as a testament to the enduring impact of visionary leaders in shaping the course of history. As we consider the alternate trajectory of South Africa's history, we are reminded of the lasting impact of pivotal figures like Nelson Mandela on the world stage. Mandela's legacy as a champion of justice, reconciliation, and human rights continues to resonate globally, inspiring individuals to stand up against injustice and work towards a more equitable and inclusive society. By reflecting on Mandela's legacy, we honor his contributions to the struggle for freedom and dignity for all.